vining habit. Poison or Virginia creeper can climb trees and other structures. It also crawls across the ground. Now, Virginia creeper has this palmately compound leaf. This is one leaf. It consists of 5 leaflets all joined here at the center, and you won't see that with on a poison ivy plant. And another plant that can be mistaken for poison ivy is blackberry and raspberry plants because they have a similar leaf structure with the petiole, the 2 lateral leaflets, the rachis, and the terminal leaflet. But one thing you won't see on poison ivy are these briars or spines or prickers, whatever you call them. And now with the box elder seedling, this looks very much like poison ivy. Because of the leaf structure, again, it's very similar to poison ivy with the 5 parts. But the main difference between box elder seedling and poison ivy is the way the leaves are arranged on the stem of the plant. So the box elder seedling, the leaves come off opposite each other. But with poison ivy, the leaves are arranged in an alternate pattern. So poison ivy, alternate, box elder, opposite. Okay, so what makes poison ivy dangerous, or what makes poison ivy poisonous? Well, the plant contains a chemical compound called urushiol. It's an oily resin. It's on all parts of the plant, the leaves, the stem, the roots, even those aerial roots. If it gets on your skin, it can cause an allergic reaction, resulting in an itchy rash, which usually appears the next day. And the reaction can range from mild to severe depending on the person's sensitivity to urushiol. Some people don't have any reaction to poison ivy at all, but that's not because they're not allergic to poison ivy, but it's because their body has a higher threshold or a higher tolerance to urushiol, and that can change as a person gets older. If you think, excuse me, one thing I want to mention before I get to what you do if you think you get it on your skin is that this oily resin can stick to tools and clothes and the hair of your pets. So you can get it on your skin without realizing it. But if you suspect you've come in contact with poison ivy, wash with running cold water and soap. Warm water can cause the urushiol to penetrate the skin faster. So signs and symptoms are redness, itching, swelling, blisters, difficulty breathing. This picture shows a typical poison ivy rash, which isn't horrible, but it would be uncomfortable and itchy. It can be treated with calamine lotion or another anti-itch cream. Some people believe that if you scratch a poison ivy rash and the blisters break, that the fluid from the blisters causes the rash to spread. That is a myth. The fluid in the blisters is not urushiol, it's your own body fluid. I mentioned that the reaction can range from mild to severe. This man has a severe reaction. So see your doctor if the reaction is severe or widespread. Your skin continues to swell. The rash affects your eyes, mouth, or genitals. See your doctor if the blisters are oozing pus. You develop a fever greater than 100 degrees. The rash doesn't get better within a few weeks. Now this picture is of one of our master gardeners who had gotten poison ivy from her dog. And this picture was taken after after her rash had been treated for several weeks. So if you find poison ivy in your garden or your yard, you can use chemical treatments to remove it. Look for something that has been developed specifically for poison ivy, and of course use it according to directions. Or you can remove poison ivy manually by pulling it out of the ground. And this video, Sarah, we're ready to look at this video. This video will show you how that is done.
And I hope my sound works for this, so let me know if it does not.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm at the Sunset Park Garden, and I found a good specimen of poison ivy right here. And so I'm going to try my bag technique on this. So this is a newspaper bag my newspaper comes in, put a bread sack, Garbage bag, tall kitchen bag will work great for it too. But it covers up my gut. I made sure I had long sleeves on in case I bump into it at all. And I'm gonna pull that little fella right out. So I'm gonna grab it like this. Oh, here we go. And now you see I've got it, roots and all. I'll fold it back up. And I'm going to slide that bag right up and over. And then I can drop it in the garbage and get it out without ever touching my skin.
And
All right.
I'll put that, oh dear, oh dear. I will put that in the chat, this link. Oops, it's replaying again. Sending it over to you. I'm gonna stop sharing now.
All right. One thing that was not mentioned in that video is that after she finished with the poison ivy, she would wash her gloves and her shirt to remove any of that urushiol that would have stuck to it. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to scroll down to where I was, interrupting my presentation with that video kind of messed things up. I didn't realize that would happen. Okay, anyway, I'm ready for questions. Do you have any questions about poison ivy? That's not where I am. I'm right here. If there are no questions, I'm going to go on to the next part. Giant hogweed, cow parsnip, and wild parsnip. These three plants all have something in common, and that is that their sap contains an organic chemical compound called uranocuramines. And this is a class of chemicals, so each plant will have one that is a bit different from the others. And the worst of that lot is giant hogweed, Paraculeum mantagasium. Giant hogweed is a non-native plant. It originated in the Caucasus region of Eurasia. It was taken back to Britain by the Victorians as a horticultural curiosity because of its size. It was shared with Canada. Then it first appeared in the US in 1917 near Highland Park, Rochester. Giant hogweed is a herbaceous perennial, which means that it dies back to the ground in the fall, and in the spring it regrows from roots or from seeds. A giant hogweed can be found along abandoned railroads, roadside ditches, and stream banks. It can colonize wide ranges of habitats, but it prefers wet areas. It's considered to be an aquatic invasive species. And the colonies can become dense and crowd out slower growing plants, and the thick canopy will displace native plants by shielding them from sunlight. Giant hogweed has become known as the invader of the Northeast. Now, this is a DEC map. It's a few years old, 2018, but we can see from this map that giant hogweed has been identified in nearly every county of the state, and there is a removal program, which I will talk about later. So what does giant hogweed look like? Well, it grows between 7 and 14 feet tall, and it's actually the flower stalks that will reach heights of up to 14 feet. The leaves are incised and deeply lobed. They're up to 5 feet across. And yes, that is one leaf, one giant hogweed leaf. It has white flowers, they're umbrella shaped and up to 2.5 feet across. The stems are green with extensive purple splotches and prominent coarse hairs. And the stems are hollow. They're ridged 2 to 4 inches in diameter, and they have a thick circle of hairs at the base of each leaf stalk. The seeds are dry, they're flattened and oval, about 3/8 of an inch long. And these tan and brown lines, these are oil tubes. The seeds can be viable in the ground for up to 10 years. Okay, the giant hogweed plant has 4 growth phases. The first one is the pre-flowering phase. The seeds sprout and emerge as a rosette pattern. I will show you a picture of that shortly. The plant does not flower in the first year, and it may not flower for up to 5 years. The second phase is the flowering phase. The flowers appear midsummer, July usually. And the third phase is when it produces seeds in late summer or early autumn. And one flowering plant produces more than 20,000 seeds. And those seeds can stay alive in the soil for up to 10 years. And then the fourth phase is the dead stems phase in the winter. Okay, here is giant hogweed as it emerges from seeds in the spring. That's the rosette pattern I was talking about. And then the seedlings are lobed or toothed and slightly lobed. And then as the plants mature, the leaves become more deeply lobed. What makes giant hogweed dangerous? It's the sap containing furanocouramins, which is a phytophototoxin. That means that if you get the sap on your skin, it will change your skin so that it will lose the ability to protect itself from the UV rays of the sun. And that will lead to severe sunburns, second and possibly third degree burns, even blindness if you get it in your eyes. And the skin will remain hypersensitive to sunlight for up to 7 years. So any patches of skin that have been exposed to the sap will have to be covered before going outside to protect it from burning. And it will have to be done for like up to 7 years. Okay, here's somebody who has burns on the back of their leg, their calf, it appears. It's their calf. So you can see what it looks like after day 5, after day 8, and then 5 months later, there's this permanent scarring, this hyperpigmentation. If you find giant hogweed, do not touch this plant. It is a very dangerous plant. And if you believe you found some giant hogweed, report it to the DEC. Take pictures of the entire plant, and stem, leaves, flowers, seeds, and of course, whether it's flowers or seeds will depend on the growth phase. Note the number of plants and the exact location. And if you can get grid coordinates, that would be even better. Then report it to the DEC. And this information is in your handout, for contacting the DEC. There's actually a link to a brochure, and I highly recommend that you print out that brochure, carry it with you. So if you find giant hogweed, you will have the information for contacting the DEC. Are there any questions about giant hogweed?
We did have one on the chat, Cheryl, and I just want to kind of back up a little bit. There was one regarding poison ivy, questioning if you can wash off poison ivy in cold or hot water.
Oh, actually, cold water. I was going to mention that because it does say it should be cold running water and soap, because if you use warm water, that can cause that urushiol to penetrate your skin faster.
Okay, thank you. I thought that was what you had mentioned, but I just wanted to double check. I put a response in the chat, which said the same, pretty much same thing. We have another question. Do other vines in our area have aerial roots?
That I can't answer. I'm sorry, but I really don't know.
Is there another gardener on the call, the webinar, that has a quick answer to that? If not,
I think Virginia creeper can have some aerial roots.
thanks, Susie.
No, thank you.
There are no other questions in the chat. Does anyone want to unmute themselves and ask a question verbally? Oh, the question about poison ivy, cold or warm water, was in regards to washing clothes. Should that be in cold or hot?
I honestly don't think it matters. I haven't found anything addressing that. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to move on to parsnip.
Oh, just one other comment. Sorry to interrupt, Cheryl, but ivies have aerial roots. Carol commented, and I'm just adding that to, it's in the chat if people are following along. All
Okay.
right, off to you.
All right. So cow parsnip, Paraculeum maximum. Excuse me. Cow parsnip is a native plant, and it can be found growing along woodlands, forest openings, grasslands, stream and river edges, and along roadsides. You may not find it growing here in the Finger Lakes, though, because cow parsnip prefers cooler temperatures. So you may find it if you're in the Adirondacks visiting or hiking or camping. So just be aware. Cow parsnip is about half the size of giant hogweed. It grows to about 6 feet tall. It has compound leaves that are 2 to 2.5 feet across. The leaves have more rounded lobes than the deeply cut leaves of giant hogweed. The stems are green, ridged, 1 to 2 inches in diameter with fine white hairs. And the stems don't have the purple splotches that giant hogweed stems have.
Cheryl, sorry
Yes?
to interrupt. Your screen is zoomed in where it's cutting off the slide. I don't think that's just on my end. You're zoomed in, so the left side of your screen is kind of off.
I wonder, okay, because from my end, I don't see that. I'm not sure how to correct that. I can stop sharing and
It's
do it
okay on my screen.
Okay, maybe it's just on mine then, because it was cutting off. Yep. Oh, that's better, I guess. Is that okay for everybody? I thought maybe it was for others other than me, but
No, mine's fine.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
mine's fine too.
Beautiful. Thank you for the feedback.
Okay. All right. So the flowers, excuse me, they're flat topped. They're white, flat, about 1 foot across. Whoops. Okay, I'm not advancing. My screen is not advancing. Let's see if I can do this. And the seeds are heart-shaped, again with the brown lines. Oops, I
Sit in my lap.
thought I had a slide in there. Guess not. Okay. Anyway, it's easy to confuse cow parsnip with giant hogweed because they're so similar. The main difference is actually the size of the plant. So what makes cow parsnip dangerous? Well, it's the sap, which contains the furanocuromins, and again, it's a phytophototoxin. But the one in cow parsnip isn't quite as bad as that in giant hogweed, but still, it can lead to burns ranging from mild to severe, and it can leave scars. If a plant touches your skin, wash the area immediately with soap and water and cover your skin to protect it from sunlight for 48 hours. Are there any questions about cow parsnip? If not, I'm going to move on to the last plant.
Yeah, nothing in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Wild parsnip, Pastinaca sativa. I practice saying that word and I stumble over it every time. Pastinaca sativa. Okay, this is not a native plant. It originated in Eurasia and it became naturalized here. Wild parsnip is an herbaceous biennial plant, and that means that it grows from seed and does not flower the first year. The second year it grows from roots, it flowers, produces seeds, and then dies. It has become an invasive plant. It can thrive in a wide range of conditions from dry to wet soils, and it can be found growing in pastures, abandoned fields, and along roadsides. Okay, and here's a DEC map showing that this wild parsnip has been identified as growing in most counties of the state. The DEC believes it is underreported, and they encourage the public to report sightings by going to the link IMAP invasives. I'll get to that a little bit later. We'll look at that later, actually. And there is no removal program for wild parsnip. Wild parsnip can grow up to 5 feet tall. It has hairless, hollow, grooved stems. The leaves are yellow-green, coarsely toothed compound leaves, which resemble celery leaves. Look at the flowers are flat-topped, yellow, 3 to 8 inches across. The seeds are flat and brown. There's actually a picture of the seeds, and they're winged to help with wind dispersal in the fall. So what makes wild parsnip dangerous? It's the sap again. It contains the chemical compound furanocuromins, which is a phytophototoxin. It's in all of the above ground parts of the plant, leaves, stem, flowers, and seeds. And when exposed to this to skin, wild parsnip sap can cause increased sensitivity to sunlight, resulting in intense burning, blistering, skin discolorations, and or rashes, depending on the person's sensitivity to the sap. Excuse me. The symptoms, meaning the skin's hypersensitivity to sunlight, will last up to 2 years. If exposed to wild parsnip sap, wash the area with soap and water and cover the area to shield it from sunlight. Oh, I wanted to go back to that. This picture here, and actually I found this, this link goes to a news article from Minnesota. It was about a lady who was weeding an area of her lawn where she wanted to plant some hosta. And she was weeding out these plants. She called them pretty yellow flowers, not knowing what they were. And then after she finished, her skin was burning. Well, it turned out that those pretty yellow flowers were wild parsnip, and she has gotten some terrible burns from that. So if you find wild parsnip, report it to the DEC. Take pictures of the plant, get the specific location, grid coordinates are preferred, and report using this IMAP invasive link. So Sarah, can you open that link so people can see what that looks like?
Yep, sure thing. One
Thank-
moment. So you want to talk through it, Cheryl, but the reporting button is right here.
Yeah, that screen that shows where you have to create an account, and then there's another button where you would actually do the reporting. We found this screen
Yeah,
earlier.
you wanna re-
That one, yes, right there. So it appears that you have to create an account before you can actually report. And then over here on the right side, it said, tell us here. Then that you would go to that link to actually report your sighting. So you can fill in the information. Okay, thank you, Sarah. And this link is on your handout as well. It's actually at the bottom of the page because the handout, well, I'll talk about that in a few minutes.
You want to reshare your screen now, Cheryl?
Okay. Are there any questions about, oh, hang on, I'm not finished. This is still, it goes back to my poison ivy part. Okay, here we are. So I want to bring this up to the full screen. So if you find wild parsnip on your property, you can remove it by using a general herbicide. Oops, that's the wrong screen. I want to advance more. Okay. Or if you prefer using non-chemical controls, you can pull it by hand. But of course, cover your skin. You want to use, protective gears so that this, so you don't get the sap on your skin. Or if you have a large population, you can remove it by mowing. And the mowing should be done after flowering, but before the plant goes to seed. And that will weaken the plant so it won't grow back that season. And mowing should be repeated at the same time every year, that is after flowering, before the plant goes to seed. And then that should reduce the population after about 3 to 5 years. So are there any questions about wild parsnip?
There's none in the
Okay.
chat.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Mhm.
So this is, everybody who registered should have gotten a copy of the handout. And this is a list of links to papers and articles and videos with more information. Because what I give you here tonight just kind of skimmed the surface. This video at the top under poison ivy, the NIOSH, and I believe that stands for, I hope I get this right, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and it describes what happens to your skin or what your skin does in reaction to the urushiol on your skin. Because remember, it's not this oily resin on your skin that causes the rash, but it's your body's allergic reaction. So anyway, this link will describe what what that's all about. And then there are a couple of videos down here that tell you how to positively identify poison ivy in a better way than I could tell you here. So they're all worth taking a look. Oops, just lost it. And under giant hogweed, more papers and more detailed information. This is a video that was taken in Britain, and this guy is filming some giant hogweed that he found in March as it was just emerging from the ground. He found it along a creek. And it gives very detailed information about what it looks like, and even shows some stalks of dead giant hogweed from the previous season. But one thing I want to say about this video is he begins by talking about, I think he said he was foraging for cow parsnip. Now keep in mind, the cow parsnip in Europe is not the same cow parsnip we have here in the US. Our cow parsnip is Heraculaeum maximum. And this guy does use the botanical name for the cow parsnip. I don't remember what it is, but we always have to be mindful of the fact that quite often a common name can be used for two different plants. And sometimes a plant might be like harmless, and the same name can be used for a plant that is not harmless. But anyway, the guy goes into detailed information, not only about the young giant hogweed and what it looks like, but also about the Purana and how it affects the skin. And down here, this is that brochure I was talking about, the DEC brochure. And I really highly recommend that you print it out, keep it with you. So when you're out, if you ever find giant hogweed, you'll have the information for reporting it to the DEC. So under cow parsnip and wild parsnip, these are some papers, one from the DEC, one from Cornell for each. And then down here is the link to IMAP invasives for reporting sightings of wild parsnip. So unless there are any questions or comments, this concludes my presentation. And I thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Cheryl. There were a couple comments or questions in the chat. Carol commented that I thought he said it was hogweed versus giant hogweed. I think that's referring to one of your links that you had mentioned.
Well, okay, I'm not familiar with that. What link are we talking about now? Which link?
Carol, if you can unmute yourself and maybe verbalize, that would probably be helpful. But it's referring to your handout.
I was watching the one that was made in England, and he was the forager, and he was talking about, and I thought he said it was a hogweed versus a giant hogweed, and the leaf shape is different, and he went into that, and the leaves are bristly and hairy, but I thought he was referring to a hogweed, not a parsnip.
Right. Well, that was, yeah, that video you're talking about where he was foraging for cow parsnip. Well, okay, if I'm remembering right, if I understand what you're saying, in the beginning, he said he was going out to forage for cow parsnip, but then he found the giant hogweed. Now, do I understand?
Okay, all right, my mistake.
Okay. I hope I'm not mistaken, actually.
Well, we can always revisit.
Well, I don't think
briefly,
any of
but-
us are going to go out foraging.
No, and you
Right now.
don't want to be foraging for cow parsnip because, you know, that is a different plant than what we have here in the US. And we don't want to be foraging for this Heraculaeum maximum, which has the Purana. And I think this cow parsnip that is native to Europe is just an entirely different plant. Okay. Are there any
Yeah, there's
questions?
one other question. How dangerous are all these plants to animal skin? I'm assuming for pets, the sake of.
You know, I don't know. You know, I didn't look into that as I was doing my search for this, so I don't have an answer to that question.
Okay. There are no other questions, but I welcome people to ask them in the chat or unmute yourself. Otherwise, we invite you to complete the poll that we've shared with the group. and offer up any topics or suggestions for future webinars. We will be hopefully having more webinars in the future, and we want to get the topics covered that you're most interested in. So we'd love to hear you on the poll and of your webinar ideas. If there are no other questions, we'll stay on the line, but thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Susie, for coordinating the webinar series, and to Cheryl for giving our final presentation tonight. Thanks so much, everybody.
And thank you.
Hi, this is Sue. I'm curious where you get the PDF so I could download
Oh, the handout.
information. The handout, yeah.
Well, when you registered for this class tonight, it should have been sent to your email. You did-
Okay, I registered quite a while ago and Nancy didn't send it. So if I call her tomorrow, would you be able to send it to me?
She could, yes.
How did you get the link? Because it was in the email with the link to the program.
Oh, well, maybe I just didn't notice it then.
You just have to scroll down more, at least I
Okay.
did.
Okay, I'll look. Okay, thank you. It's logical. Could be, she's probably very efficient. I'm sure it's there.
If not, I'm sure she could resend it to you.
Okay, thanks so much.